So guys, I am with the incredible Sabrina Elba today. I am so excited for this. We just had to stop ourselves catching up. I feel like I could talk to you for hours. I say that to everyone, but I really mean it to everyone. I'm so lucky that I've had the most amazing people on, and I'm just so excited for this conversation. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's so nice to get to talk to you anyways, because I love every time I get to see you and run into you. So I'm
Oh,
super
it's so
excited.
nice. Well, the first time I was just thinking this, the first time we met, I actually taught you on the boat in
Yeah.
Paris.
How glamorous is our love story?
I know. That is
We
quite a
met,
unique meeting.
yeah, during Fashion Week on a boat on a Dior cruise. Like
I
how
mean, I
lavish,
I
right?
just want to say that is definitely not my everyday. But it
And
was
you know what?
incredible.
You were so kind because I was like, oh my God, I've got to work out. I've got glam on. Like, you're like, Sky, this is going to be easy. And actually, you
You were
made it super
great.
easy. And it's funny because that day actually ignited a bit of like a serious health journey for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I don't know if you remember. Well, obviously, we had this amazing workout, but I met Rosemary on the
Yes,
boat as
yes,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? I need to sit down with you. And we had some
Yeah.
serious talks and, did some tests that like really, I think kind of scared me into reality, if you know what I mean. Like I knew I had a lot of inflammation in my gut and my diet wasn't the best. And I'd gone through sort of a big weight loss journey at that time, but I didn't necessarily do it in the healthiest way. Like I was eating less, but eating junk, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
And I've got a really big sugar addiction. So I reached out to Rosemary that day and I was like, can we do this? And it's like, so that day is full of memories for me.
Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah, and it's an important day in my life, probably.
Oh, well, I love that. And Rose is incredible. She just has this way of making you feel like it's okay. You're on this
Yeah.
journey with her. It's going to be okay. And she's got your back. And she also, what I love and why we always work together is she's so sustainable about things. She's not kind of
Absolutely.
restrictive. Her attitude towards wellness, I just love. So I'm so excited that that was such a life-changing day for you. That's
I know,
amazing.
right?
And
And
then
she
the
is lovely.
second time we saw each other, I just wanted to share this because you were the sweetest ever. I nearly was missing my flight. And this is so funny. I was missing my flight in such a panic because we had just been at this event and I left early. Then it was on Mount Street in London. Anyone knows Mount Street. Basically, traffic just doesn't move. I was sat in the car and I was thinking, okay, I've missed this flight. There's no way I'm getting this flight back. And then all of a sudden, because we just weren't moving, the door opens. I'm thinking, what the hell? Like someone's trying to get in my car. And you were like, Bryony. And anyway, I was sat in your car, basically, that you were trying to search for, and it was your car, and I stole your car. And then you were like, take this car, go to the airport, I'll get a black cab. And you were just the sweetest ever. So
Oh my gosh. Did
that
you make that flight, by the way?
I did. I don't know
Oh my God,
how.
thank
That was
goodness.
crazy.
But that was so funny because I was obviously when you're looking on an app, you're just looking for the registration, right? And I was like, I think that's my car, but it's kind of moving. So I thought maybe he doesn't see me. So let me just like run and grab the door. And I saw
Oh
you. I
my
was
God,
like,
I was so
oh.
embarrassed.
But also you were legitimately in a rush. Like I think I was gonna go, I don't know, like sit on my couch or something. I
You
was
were
like,
so
please.
chill. You were like, go, you
Oh,
have a flight to catch. I'll get a black cab whenever. So sweet. But actually, that also made me think at this lunch that we went to this amazing lunch that was all
so
about,
good.
yeah, it was such a, and actually, that was a real moment where I was really inspired by people at that lunch. And it was hosted by Anna Sweeting and Rosie Huntington Whiteley as part of their Equity Studio launch. And everyone had to stand up. And whenever this happens, like the kind of old me creeps in where I'm like, ugh, oh my God, I've got to introduce myself. I'm dying. And you get that like imposter
Yeah.
syndrome and you get that feeling like, what the hell am I going to say? And it was your turn, and you were just so humble, but so secure and so confident at the same time.
I'm so happy it came across that way.
No, you really did. And you know what? Because of
Um,
those moments, like for me, I used to find moments like that just like crippling. So
Mm.
now I think that's in me where I'm hyper aware of everyone and everything that's going on. And you
Mm.
really stood out. And yeah, I just thought you had such calm confidence. So I wanted to
Aw.
start this podcast by talking about that and where that came from, and if you've always been confident.
Oh, well, when I say I'm happy it came across that way, I genuinely am because I can relate to you. It's funny because if I'm, and my friends will call me out for this all the time, like if I have to do a speech at the UN, for instance, and there's tons of people, I'm super confident I can nail it because I guess I don't know who really is in the room. So to
Yeah.
me, I'm kind of like, it's fine. I don't know them from like, my neighbor or whatever. So
Yeah.
I can just speak how I can speak, but when it's a room full of people I admire and my peers, I find even in tiny rooms, if it's the right audience, I get super, super nervous. And I think because, people like yourself and everyone else we're sitting with, I look up to you as businesswomen, as entrepreneurs who have really taken a hold of their lives. So thank you so much for saying that because I did actually get really nervous in that moment. And I don't know if you met my mom. She comes to tons of events, actually,
Oh,
maybe
I
at
love
some point.
that.
But she is the most confident person in a good way. Like she's not it doesn't come across as a negative thing for her. Like she meets people and people go, "Oh my gosh, I love your confidence." And she always tells me, she's like, "Well, I've had to fight to be who I am. Like, I'm not going to take any points away from myself." And I'm always like, "Wow, I
Wow.
love that." And I think I have that as this like role model in
Mm.
my head, in my life. But on the other side of things, I've come into an industry that I didn't necessarily, grow up in or and it just kind of landed in my life, I guess you could say. So I have constant imposter syndrome, particularly when it comes to doing things and speaking about things that I didn't necessarily see myself taking on. Being a businesswoman and an entrepreneur was not something that I saw for myself. Like, I always thought I was going to go corporate. And when I did uni, I was like pre-law and I deferred law school eventually, but that
Yeah,
was the
and I want to know
plan.
about that. I heard that this morning on another
Oh no.
podcast, and I think it's
It just
incredible.
means that I don't know, was lazy or got scared or like it's funny because I'm always embarrassed to say it. Like no, tons
No,
of
you
people
should be
defer
proud of
for
that
very
because it shows that there's so many different sides to you and so many different things going on. And you're a Gemini as well,
uh
right?
well, I am, funny enough.
Thank
And
you.
I love that you pointed that out because I do think uh, people tend to, and we're not going to get fully into astronomy. I promise you I won't do that to you. But and I'm not a huge astrology person. But when I think of a Gemini, people always say, "Oh, you're two-sided," or "You've got like so many different
Mm,
sides to you." I actually think for me, how I see it is that Geminis just respond really well to situations because they can reflect back what's given, and we can kind of mirror something. Whether that
mm.
means, if someone really confident is in front of me, I can kind of speak at that same confidence back to them. Or if there's a life situation where, it's going crazy, my life will be going crazy too. So it's like a
Yeah.
good and a bad thing. But I, always tell people if you're on a path and you just want to take a chance, and that's what I did. And when I deferred, I was moving to London. I just met this amazing guy, and my gut was just telling me, just take a chance. You can always come back to this, right?
Yeah.
And you need a really good reason to defer. So I had to,
That's a good
maybe be
reason.
a
That's
little
a good reason.
unhonest about that. But I just thought, let me just take this chance, and if it doesn't work out, I can come back. I can
Yeah.
continue. I was moving to Toronto at the time, and I was trying to get away from I don't know what, but I just thought there's something more, there's something missing
Mm,
that I'm not satisfying on a personal level. And moving to London was a huge eye opener for me. I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and it is such a small town in comparison.
yeah.
And you don't know that really when you're in it, right? Like it's not the kind of small town where it's like I was on a farm,
No,
and it's
no.
15,000 people. No, it's still a city in its own right, but compared to somewhere like in New York or London, where there's
Mm,
so much opportunity and creatives and creativity that's just like thrown in your face all the time in a good way where you're constantly inspired. I was like, wow, than I could have seen because I think sometimes, unfortunately, you only see a path if the path is presented to you. It's
Yes.
really hard for us to imagine a different life. If someone told me I'd have traveled as much as I did the past, 10 years or done all the life experiences that I've been fortunate to have, I wouldn't have believed them because I wouldn't have seen it for myself growing
Yeah.
up where I grew up in the kind of limits of my upbringing, and I think it's
Yeah.
so good for people to kind of challenge that or break that. And I think that's why representation is so important.
Mm.
I know, that people talk about that all the time, but it really is because you see someone like yourself doing something you may not have thought you could do.
Yeah.
Instantly, your eyes are wide
It
and you're like,
triggers
oh my gosh.
something.
Yeah, it triggers
Yeah.
something.
And also, I think I always think about people's journeys and their redirection, and sometimes that redirection, or in your situation, that change of city really kind of catapults you into something that you never even imagined. And then now looking back, you can't imagine your life without that. It's so strange, isn't it?
It is so strange. It is. And I think having people around you, and this is a lesson that I've taken on, who inspire that in you, who
Mm.
challenge you and go, even just a simple comment to say to a friend, you could totally do that if you wanted to. Why couldn't you do that? And like
Yes.
I'm a victim of I'm always like complimenting other people in a way that could probably sound a little self-degrading. Like, I wish I could be like her, or oh my gosh, have you seen what she's done? I so
Yeah.
wish I could do that. And I'm so thankful I have friends in my life who are always like, then go do it.
You could,
I'm always like,
yeah.
oh, let me try. Like,
It's so
it's
interesting,
so
isn't it?
important.
Because we are so good at giving such positive, constructive feedback to our friends and really lifting them up. And then sometimes it takes them like throwing it back at you, and then you're like, oh yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes I think you need to kind of take yourself out of your own shoes, put yourself in like as if you're talking to a friend, or, someone you really care about, and you want to be so positive to them and make them feel like they've got this. And sometimes we need to be our own hype people.
Yeah, and the best of friends will do that for you. And
Yeah.
that's why I think it's so important, we've heard from, when we were little, who you're around matters.
Mm,
And I've had probably in the last 10 years like a sort of, self journey or self cleansing in a sense of being very, very vigilant and focused about who I was surrounding myself with because
yeah.
I think, a massive change of life and just seeing myself in a better situation and circumstance didn't necessarily sit well with everybody around
Mm,
me. And it's so hard to see that in the moment when you think generally this person's been in my life for 10 years. So that means, when you're young,
yeah.
you say, that's my best friend. That's my best, best, best friend.
Yeah.
But I learned, I think, the hard way a little bit that friendship isn't necessarily about length of time. It's the
Mm,
quality of the friendship because sometimes we linger with people who can be toxic for us
yeah.
because we
Without
think
us
we owe them
realizing.
and yeah, a loyalty. And it becomes this relationship that is quite hard to let go or separate yourself
Mm,
from, not necessarily because you don't see the signs, but because you think that's just what you're supposed to do.
yeah.
And
It's
that was a big, big learning.
it's a big turning point when you have that kind of realization. Actually, this morning I saw something on Instagram that I thought was so interesting, that basically said that when we're in a relationship with someone that no longer is serving us, no longer feels good, no longer feels supportive, everyone around us, and we know deep down as well that we should end that relationship, and it's not good for us. And that's completely acceptable in society, but it's not acceptable with friendships for some reason. And I just don't understand why that's not the case. And I think actually, sometimes more so, the friendships that you have around you are the ones that actually you should be so mindful of, even more than your kind of intimate relationship. So it's interesting to think about that. And I often get questions on a Q&A on Instagram of how you would go about releasing that. What are the steps? Like if someone said, how can I get rid of this friendship in my life that I know is really holding me back? I feel like
Yeah.
you're a good sis to ask. Like you're giving like sister energy, like big
I
sis
love that.
vibes. So
I
what
definitely
would you
think we're
say?
sisters in a sense. We were sisters in a past life.
Yeah.
Um, but I agree that it is one of the hardest things you can do. It's like one of the worst breakups you've
Yeah.
ever had. And I think I would just always tell people it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
You have to be ready for that pain because
Mm.
also it will bring out and uproot a lot of stuff that you didn't want to talk about and potentially address about yourself because
Yeah.
it's always a two-way street, right?
Hmm.
Regardless of, what that person did to you, what are the things that you've done in your life that have allowed yourself to potentially be treated that way for one, or how did you help that behavior? And it's like I always think there's a bit of self-analysis there that's really important.
Yeah.
Not to say that you would blame yourself because you've obviously made the right steps to recognize that this is a relationship you need to get out of. But in my experience, there's always something that you've potentially ignored. Why did you ignore it in that moment? For me, it
Mm.
turned out that I was so distracted by what was going on that I just kept, leaving things until they get to the point
Yeah.
where it's like the house is on fire, and I should have shut down the stove like forever ago.
Totally.
And why do I do that? And it did take me this kind of, and friends will say, "Oh, like Sabrina doesn't care. She's always so chill." But like that can sometimes also
Add
be,
up.
yeah, it can
Yeah.
add up. And that being so chill, it's the wrong way to put it. I had to really like think and do some self-healing of like, why did I allow this person
Mm.
do these things again and again? And it's
Just put
just
up
a
some
tough one.
boundaries. And
Yeah,
also
thank you.
now that you are the busiest person ever and have your business, which I can't wait to talk about, but it kind of makes you more aware of your time, I guess. Like because you are so busy and stretched with everything else, you're like, okay, where is my free time? Where are my moments that I'm actually wanting to like refill my cup?
Mm.
But please, can you tell us all things Sable? So you launched, I think, 2 and a bit years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, 2.5 exactly, because we come to 3 years in July.
Okay, so tell me everything. How
Oh
did
my
it come
goodness.
about? I know that you've suffered with acne in the past. I did too. That can really
Yeah,
affect confidence. So that's part of the journey, right?
absolutely. I mean, I was already like you've met me, Bryony. I'm so tall. Like I always tell people, like,
Honestly, you are just the most gorgeous human. It's not
oh,
normal. It's not
no.
normal.
No, no, no. Listen, I had the biggest tall poppy syndrome when I was younger because you grow up being the tall girl at the school or whatever, and people always say like, "Oh my God, you're so tall, you're so tall." And it just made me want to like shrink down.
Mm,
And that on top of like teenage acne, I was like the shyest high schooler. It
yeah.
wasn't like it's funny because I speak to my friends now from like I'm still really close with a lot of my high school friends. Like we've got, like our little crew. And it's like, wow, remember when you were like too shy to do that and now you're doing this? And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
you've come such a long way. But my skin was such a big part of that. And looking
Mm,
back, I don't think I realized how crippling it was and how crippling acne can be, right?
yeah.
And that was just like one issue, but it made me realize that skin health is confidence. And it is such a big part of how we feel and how we come out in the day. And you've got to embrace your skin in whatever condition it's in and just own it, right? And for
Yeah.
me, it was about, okay, I have gone down this trajectory of just putting on everything and doing too much and constantly trying to like burn it away. It was almost
Oh
as
my
if I
gosh.
hated my
I
skin,
did
right?
this
And
exact same.
we grew up in the like Neutrogena and St. Ives
Yes.
generation,
Oh
right?
my God. I'm
And a
trying to
lot of
think the
those
awful
pads and
things I used to put on.
oh my gosh,
Crazy.
and those exfoliating agents and those micro tears, like that was all just
Yeah.
us being like, I hate this, right?
Mm,
Rather than trying to heal our skin. And for someone with melanin rich skin like myself, that was slightly harder to get to the quality of product or the nuance potentially of product that I was
mm,
looking for because not a lot of product is made with melanin rich skin in mind. Our skin is a
yeah.
little bit bougier, like it it needs more hydration. So I always say like it just wants more. It's like asking for a lot. But that's okay. It can be drier and it can lack ceramides. So for a company to put out a product that does cater to melanin-rich skin, it will cost a bit more. And I think it's
Yeah.
easy for companies to kind of just do the easiest thing, and what's best for their
Cut
bottom line.
corners. Mm.
cut corners, and that unfortunately excludes a big group of people. But the great thing is when you do include melanin-rich skin, just because we need that little bit more, you get skincare that's better for everyone.
Yeah,
Like
that
how
I
amazing.
was just thinking that because surely then that means all the special, like juicy ingredients are just more potent and more quality.
Exactly. It's like using a dry hair shampoo or like a damaged hair shampoo on healthy
Yeah.
hair. Like everyone can benefit from that extra bit of moisture content. And,
Yes. Yeah.
and I always say now, because people ask me all the time, is the skincare just for black skin? And I say, no, the best thing about it being for black skin means that it's for everyone.
Yeah.
And so we've called it a melanin inclusive line. But
I
at the
love
time
that.
that we started, I mean, that was such a learning curve for me. I had to
Mm.
like, really sit and do the research and understand my skin because every time I went to a dermatologist or spoke to someone about it, they would just kind of throw like a Roaccutane at me or something really harsh. And it wasn't actually until I spoke to Barbara Sturm, who
Yes.
I'm so thankful to say is a good friend of mine, was like, dark skin tones need a bit more. And it triggered my kind of
Mm-hmm.
curiosity and like her dark skin tone sign, what does that mean? And we sat together lots and she helped me through my acne, which is so funny to say that now because people are always like, you have such great skin. And I'm like, oh my gosh, me and Barbara know what was going on.
This is
And
crazy to hear because she fixed my acne.
oh
Did I
my
ever tell
gosh,
you that?
she's like everyone's little secret whisper.
No, but this is so weird. She genuinely fixed my acne too. She's a subscriber on the app, does my workouts. I met her for breakfast and I had terrible acne and then she just
Oh my
completely
gosh.
fixed it. So like this is just crazy. So
No,
yeah,
this is
she's
meant to be
amazing.
that
Yeah,
we're
it really
having this
is.
conversation. Absolutely. No, she is such a gem of a person because I think what she does is so disruptive in that she's almost anti-industry. She's
Mm,
like, if you think about even her formulations, and I was lucky to have a sit down with her not so long ago, she's not looking at harsh actives.
yeah,
She's, very focused on anti-inflammatory products, which kind of
yeah.
takes away from that like instant result culture that we've sort of,
Been
created.
kind of
And
conditioned to think is the
exactly.
way.
And
Yeah.
she's like, let's not do that. Let's just heal. And like when you ask her for her best skincare advice, she'd probably say something like lying in the grass outside.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true.
You know what I mean? But I was so thankful for that conversation at the time that I would was formulating this brand. And like I didn't come obviously from a skincare background. I
Mm,
grabbed one of my besties, who was working at Tom Ford doing sales and education for North America. And I was like, you're like my big skincare friend, and you're working at
yeah.
this amazing company. Like, I need to steal you. And she was like, what are you doing? What are you
Oh
talking about?
my
I
God.
still to this day cannot believe that she left Tom for me.
Well,
I was like,
I
if we ever
can.
see him together, I'm like putting that there because I had this crazy idea, but she has blonde hair and blue eyes. And we had this amazing conversation. And it was like, I want it to work for me and work for you. And we were
Yes.
just so passionate about that. And we put together this core collection of a moisturizer, a cleanser, and a toner that wasn't going to have any sensitizing ingredients so that it would kind of trigger things like
Hmm.
post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. Because a lot of what I saw in the market was treat, 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 but then everything else in here is going to just bring it back up. So
Yeah.
it's circular. So you're like using something to like damage your skin and then something to treat it and then damage and
Hmm.
then treat and then, and it's
Totally.
just, it didn't make any sense to me. So we wanted to eliminate any risk for that. Fragrances, drying alcohols, actives at too high a concentration or an inclusion in a formulation and really spread everything out. But we also wanted to use lots of tyrosinase inhibitors and ingredients that really work at the science of kind of breaking down why there is so much melanin production and why it kind of comes to the skin in such an abundance. Because I think
Yeah.
there's not enough of that in products, and they work great for all skin types. Things like tranexamic acid and licorice root, ingredients that for melanin-rich skin can really help with that cellular turnover. But for everybody, that can
Yeah.
benefit from that. And then at the same time, highlight what was so important to me, which is my East African heritage and Idris's West African heritage, and use these ingredients that I saw my mom making from like, as long as I can remember with this like green mask on her face, like anywhere she went, because she really understood that the power of these ingredients was that they were passed down for so long because they work.
And
And
they were
I think
calming and balancing rather
exactly,
than
and packed
what
with
we were doing.
antioxidants and so
Yeah.
much of skincare. Like people look for magic and solutions look, there's like six skincare ingredients that work, and one of the most important ingredients is an antioxidant. There's so many free radicals, especially now with all of the pollution. We need to be
Mm.
protecting our skin from external aggressors. Africa has some of the strongest antioxidants in the world because the conditions are so harsh and the climates can be so harsh that these plants and botanicals have to be so resilient. So I was like,
Wow, yeah.
great, I get to highlight and showcase my like
Heritage and
history
your
and
roots.
heritage
Yeah,
and do that with a lot of the science that I'm learning and accumulating and understanding about, the sensitivities of melanin-rich skin and what it needs to kind of get the boost that it needs to be healthy because skin health is the most important thing. So we'll never be a brand that like claims like, get rid of your wrinkles in 2 weeks. Like,
no,
no, let's focus on having healthy skin. And I promise you, you will love your skin more. And
yeah.
we've seen this community grow, which has been really exciting because when you're starting out in a brand, you kind of think, am I the only one that's like, is anyone going to get it? And then the second someone says to you, oh my gosh, I've been feeling that way. Thank you so much for speaking to me. I'm like, wow, somebody else
It's
gets it.
amazing.
That is
Uh,
the best feeling, isn't it? And I'm sure for you and your platform, when someone says, thank you for creating this, like, this
Yeah,
is exactly what I needed. Like, that is what motivates an entrepreneur. And I think now I'm like,
totally,
wow, why didn't I want to do this sooner? Because it's just like, you have to be the change you want to see sometimes. If you don't
totally.
do it and no one else does, that's not progression. Somebody needs to do it. So if you have a great idea, execute it. And for me, it was relying a lot on my support system and oh my God, an amazing husband who's like, of course you can do it. I was like,
Oh, so
well, and he's probably
sweet.
like, you'll save money because you buy so much skincare.
Yeah. It's a win-win. But it's
Yeah.
so nice that you have so much meaning behind the brand. And as you say, people can relate to you because you've been through these struggles with your own journey. So when you know and you get one message from someone and they say to you that you've helped their skin, like that must just feel incredible and really spur you on. I also
Yeah.
think there are so many parallels between skincare and how we should treat our skin with how we should treat our bodies. Like we're speaking about workouts, your nutrition, that conversation that you had with Rose, it's all the same. It's all about us nourishing, calming everything down, creating sustainable routines. So not really kind of having that like quick fix thing where you say, we'll get rid of your wrinkles in 2 weeks. It's like, no, this is a lifestyle. This is your daily routine that's going to make you feel so good and balanced and calm and actually have long-lasting effects. It's kind of so similar, I think.
Yeah. And there's no easy way out. And
I
that was kind
know.
of
We
the
always
hard
want to
thing I had
try
to
and
learn.
find it.
I know we always do, and it's in all different aspects, right? And it happens in. I mean, for me personally, when I was on this weight loss journey or this health journey, and even
Mm.
speaking to Rosemary at the time, like I just thought, like, what's the quickest thing I can do? What's like
Yes, of course.
I just want to feel better. And apps like yours are so important because they show you that it is going to be work, but you can
Yeah.
break it down and you can make it tangible, and it can become a part of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
10 minutes here, 20 minutes here. And that's why I love your app because it incorporates it into your life in a way that's sustainable.
Thank
And
you
that's what we
so
wanted.
much.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted with our brand. Like, you don't need 10 steps. Like,
No.
trust me, companies are really excited that you're going to buy 10 things that could do the same
Yeah. It's
thing,
crazy, isn't it?
Whereas single ingredient formulations, these formulations should be packed with ingredients that work.
Exactly. And it's like habit stacking your skincare. So it's
Yeah.
knowing, okay, my cleanser is going to give me this and this and this, and then my moisturizer. So what I love about your kind of ethos behind the brand is the simplicity
Mm.
behind everything and really just stripping everything back. And as we say, making each product just speak volumes for itself and work 10 times in overdrive. So can you talk me through? Because everyone that is especially watching this is going to be like, okay, I need to know what she's eating, drinking, how many hours she sleeps, whatever she's doing. So, can you please tell me your morning and evening routine and don't miss a single thing?
Oh my gosh, I love this. Let me just put a disclaimer. I am not always going to be the best role model, and
Yeah,
I
but
am on a journey.
that's also good. Balance is good. It's all about balance.
Balance is good, and that is something I've learned. I am much more a morning person than I am an evening person. Like I will get into bed as quick as I can.
Mm.
And to my detriment, like that hasn't always been the best for my social life. But in the morning, I'm willing to do all the things. Like
Yeah.
that's when I know, and it's so important to identify with yourself and be honest with yourself. When are you actually going to do what you
Mm.
set out to do, right? For me, I identified that if I don't do it in the morning,
It won't
if
get done.
it's not gonna, whatever it is not gonna get done. And I wake up and I make sure now, and actually this was an amazing thing that I took on from Rosemary and I still have. Like, I have an embarrassing confession to make. I
Please
used
tell us.
to keep sweets in the bed drawer because when I woke up,
I
I
love
think it had
this.
something to do with like your sugar spikes. I was like, oh, I just want something sweet. And it just would be like, what have you got in your drawer today? And like,
You're like,
seriously,
nothing.
yeah, it's like the first thing I want and the last thing I want before I go to bed. Like, can you imagine what that was doing to my teeth? Oh my God. And Rosemary was like, just switch that for something better.
Yeah,
Just do that one thing, right? Just change it for something better. And now I've got my water by my bed.
love
I've got
that.
some grapes if I really need something sweet. Like I have made my bedside drawer my little like apothecary.
Yes,
Like,
I love
um,
that.
Idris loves to wake up and spread the blinds open. So like we're up and at it, okay? Like he gets
I
out of bed,
love
the first
that.
thing he does is open the window. I wouldn't necessarily have done that. I
You're
would
a bit
like,
more gentle.
I'm a bit more
But can
gentle. I'd
he
like to
just spring out of
linger
bed?
in
Is
it.
he also a morning person like you?
He is,
You both just
which is
spring out of bed.
great.
That's
Yeah,
perfect. Me and
I
Casper
know.
are
It's
kind of the opposite.
really, yeah, because it's really, really great. I'm not gonna lie. I love that.
So
And when I
good.
want to go to bed, he wants to go to bed.
That's
And
perfect.
but I'm happy to linger in the wake up. Okay. So
Okay, you need a soft entrance to the
I need a
day.
soft entrance. And I think women do. Like, I don't think people speak enough about the difference between women's sleep cycles and men's sleep cycles. And we can go to
Mm,
bed at the same time, and he can wake up so much more refreshed than I do
mm,
at the same level of sleep. And I'm like, how do you get a deeper sleep? Like, I
yeah.
am still a bit tired. So, like, anyway, so I've
And
got
also
my
it
little,
fluctuates throughout the month. And yeah, it's a
yeah.
whole thing.
And if I wake up early enough, I do really want to call my mom or my family. And
Yeah.
community is such a big part of it. Wellness,
Hmm.
it's everything to me. If someone asks me, what do you do for yourself? It's probably call a friend.
Yeah,
And
I
that
agree.
is like my morning thing because my family live in Vancouver, Canada. If I can catch them early enough, they'll be just going to bed. So I'll
Oh,
generally like have a chat with my mom or my siblings. I have so many siblings to choose from to speak to in the morning. I have two brothers, two sisters. Someone will be
oh my God.
around.
How do you pick? It's like
I,
roulette,
I
sibling
do.
roulette.
I do roulette, but some answer more than others. But I won't shade
Yeah.
as an answer. So I'll call someone, and that will be my wake up. Like it's just nice to kind of just like get
Mm.
open up into the world that way. I've caught up with my family. I just feel so much more connected and grounded.
Yeah,
Also,
that's
we've
such
been
a nice
sleeping
thing.
on grounding mats. Sorry, this is going to be so long. This is going to take
No,
forever.
go
But
for it. I'm,
have you
I'm fully
tried
hanging on
out?
your every word.
Have you tried out a grounding mat?
No.
Oh my God. You have to
Wow.
try that.
Wait, do you
I
put it
don't,
on your mattress?
yeah, so it is on our mattress, but under our sheet. I am such a
Okay.
disbeliever with these things, okay?
I
Like
had an
Idris
image
was
of
like, no,
you
no, no,
two
we gotta
just
try it.
sleeping on like a yoga mat on the floor.
So they do make them as bed sheets now. You don't
Okay.
have to, we do plug in. And
Okay.
I don't understand necessarily the full science behind it, but I know that when you're outside in the world and your feet are on the
Mm.
grass, you're grounded. And there's something
Yes.
about our connection to the earth's current, I guess, because we are
Okay.
electric beings in a sense. We're charged up, right?
Yeah.
And when you're in a house or on ground that isn't actual earth, you lose that connection. So when you sleep on a grounding mat, it's plugged in, you
Mm.
are restoring that connection to the earth. There are massive anti-inflammatory benefits. And for me, the one I noticed the most was I've got really bad endometriosis. My cramps
Mm.
when I sleep on a grounding mat are
Yeah.
significantly reduced. So that was my, okay, I got
Wow.
this moment, right?
Yeah.
So I wake up on this grounding mat. Anyways, I said that to say I just feel so much more refreshed than I used to feel.
That's a good
Um,
tip.
I get up, I'm ready to go. I've got my routine. I go to the bathroom, I do my moment. Actually, outfit picking is a form of self-care for me. And
Yeah,
that might sound very silly, but I'm like brushing my teeth, doing my Sable steps, and I stick to Sable because obviously you selfishly create products for
for
yourself.
yourself.
Why would I veer, right? And I plan my outfits while I'm doing that. And it's kind of like this fun. I go on Pinterest and I'm like, ooh, and I'm like trying to think about what's my mood today, what's my look today. And
I love
fashion for
that.
me is, yeah, it's a joyous experience. Like I love
It gives you
partaking
that
in whatever bit of
confidence.
fashion world I can,
Totally.
right? And you can do that with any budget. Like I loved the idea of the high-low mix or thinking of
Mm,
what colors and themes I want to go and who I am that morning. So generally, my workout will happen just after kind of skincare, teeth brushing, and before I like do my makeup or my glam or
yeah.
whatever it is, right? But I will look for the quickest thing. And that's why I was saying I do love apps like yours. Like, is it a 10-minute Pilates? Is
Yeah.
it like 20 minutes on a mat? Is it, it's just
But it makes such a
whatever kind of
difference.
fits
It
in.
definitely has
It
an
does.
accumulative effect.
And the fact that I can just like walk back to my bedroom potentially and do it there to me
Yeah.
makes a massive difference. I love gym culture, but with my schedule, I can't always get there. And at one point, I did have a trainer. His name is Sean, and he works at Buddha Box in London. If anybody wants a trainer, he's like one of the kindest, nicest
Oh,
people and super, super amazing. And when I was doing this big campaign, like we had this Calvin Klein ad, like he helped me get whipped
oh my
into
God.
shape.
He's going to be the busiest ever now.
No, he's really good. Um, and tough, but good. And I was doing this routine where I was going to the gym and I was struggling to sustain it
Mm,
because it was a bit far from where I lived. And it was also just the idea of like I wanted to get the right gym outfit on, and then I just so like
yeah.
it was doing more
Even
than I
getting
could.
out of the door takes time to go to the gym. Then you go to the gym, you're there for an hour, then you come home. It's like kind of a 3 hour
Yeah.
thing.
It is. People always say go to the gym for 30 minutes a day. It's not 30
No,
minutes when you live in London. Like,
it's
our
not.
city planning does not allow you that.
Yeah.
It's an hour in traffic potentially. So I couldn't necessarily fit that in my work life. And it was the idea that I had to like go back home or shower. I don't necessarily love
Mm,
gym showers. A lot of gyms have made that experience way better,
nicer. Yeah,
like for
that's true.
sure, right? But I mean, it's not for everyone. And I also like my things and my vanity and my products and
Yeah.
like have to take that
And your
everywhere all the time.
space.
My space.
Mm,
So I love an app. I love that I can get on your app, or something similar, be in my room, potentially have my mat. I have a reformer and a megaformer in my house, thankfully,
amazing.
which I was like, those are my things. That's what I need.
Yeah, that's so good.
I know, which I love. And so that'll be me in the morning, and then I can get dressed for work, take a shower, whatever I need to do, um, and go. And I'll be honest, I don't work out every day. Like if I can get
Hmm.
2 days a weekend or 3 days
Yeah.
a weekend, I'm thankful with that. Where I've really focused on my maybe food health journey is portion control and making the
Hmm.
right choices. And I think for a
Yeah.
lot of people, like you probably know better than I do, we're working out tons in the gym, but if you're not focused on your
Yeah.
nutrition, I
Yeah.
mean,
Everything comes into play. Even
point.
sleep is so important. And
Yeah,
if you sleep well, you make better choices. Everything has a knock-on effect. But
yeah,
you're right. I think having that portion control and also the knowledge around that, because I don't think we ever really knew about the options of
yeah.
nutrition as we do today. So
I know it's so much more democratized, wouldn't you say? Like I know how to make a protein velvet whip pancake this. Like I
yeah.
had never known this. The possibilities of protein powder have been so
Oh my
expanded to
God.
me.
Honestly,
Oh my
I
God.
feel like I've tried every single thing.
Right? But I'm thankful for that. We definitely have so much more knowledge. There's so much more
Yeah.
creativity when it comes to eating healthy because I remember
Mm,
watching my brother eat fish and sweet potato every day. And I was like,
yes.
I'm sorry, I
Or
can't be
like
that person.
the chicken and rice phase. I remember like
You
the
know,
gym bros doing like
yes.
chicken, rice, broccoli like 3 times a day. And I just can't.
Yeah,
I need a bit
exactly.
of variety.
I know, and
Okay.
I do. And my food needs to look attractive. So, anyways, that's my crazy
And
morning. If
for
that is a
your
crazy.
skincare, you're just doing your in the morning, are you doing the cleanser, moisturizer, and toner?
Yeah, so I cheat a little bit in the morning. I use my micellar. Because
Okay.
it cleansed my face the night before. I do
Yeah.
feel, unless I've got a mask on or there's something that I need to get off, my micellar does the trick. We
Yeah.
formulated one specifically without pegs and that is replenishing so that you could leave it on and you're not worried about it, damaging your skin. A lot of micellar is really damaging. It has so much
Wow.
needs to. I know, and people don't
Never
talk
knew
about
that. No.
that enough. Like pegs are not good for your skin. We just use babasu oil. It's a really great way to just remove impurities. And it comes in a spray bottle, which is very convenient. So I do my
Oh, that's good.
micellar, and then I will use like a hydrochloris.
Hmm.
Wait, right way to say it. I always mess up that word.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, it's something like the Tower 28 one that everyone loves.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah,
It's
it is quite
incredible.
good.
Is it this one?
Yeah, exactly. And it's great because there's just a lot of bacteria, all right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff. And maybe I've become a little OCD with antiseptic ingredients and anti-inflammatory ingredients for that reason. But then I use my toner, which is the black seed toner, and it's an amazing antiseptic as well. That's what I take with me on flights because the
Oh,
Tower
that's a
20,
good tip.
yeah, will probably kill, the bacteria, but you also want to replenish at the same time.
Hmm.
So the toner has antiseptic ingredients like black seed, which naturally does that, but also lots of replenishing ingredients, vitamin C, E, ferulic acid to really help boost its efficacy. And the vitamin E helps cushion vitamin C, so you're not going to feel, a lot of people say I can't use a vitamin C product, but they can use our toner because
Oh, that's
something
good.
that's really important to us is the cushioning of those actives, so nothing ever
Mm.
feels irritating. And then that comes with our serum with the same sort of philosophy where we can have a retinoid that is so bioavailable. It's called Serum Renew HPR. People forget that the serum has a retinoid in it.
Yeah,
Everyone's
because it's
like, yeah,
so
we meant it
unirritating.
that way because
Yeah.
it's so non-irritating and it's full of cushioning and replenishing ingredients as well. And okra, which I don't know if you know about,
No.
which is an amazing African ingredient. It's kind of like a natural Botox, but it's really
Oh,
antioxidant packed as well. And then I use my serum and then my moisturizer. So I'm really easy in the morning because our steps have been formulated
so
that way, right?
yeah, and in the evening is the only change that you're doing the cleanser rather than the micellar water.
Exactly. I'll
Yeah.
use a cleanser and twice a week I'll mask. So I
Okay.
do mask at night because
Do you have a mask or are you using
yeah,
something
we
else?
do. We have the Sable Labs Hustle mask. Hustle is an amazing ingredient from East Africa. It's also in our cleanser and it's a natural alternative to soap. But it also has all of these amazing anti-inflammatory benefits. And when you use it in the mask, the clarifying and texture reducing and glow getting that you get after using this for 10 minutes is like, I mean, it is literally my mom in a bottle between the turmeric and
Oh, she
all of
must
the
be
things that
so
she
proud.
mixed up. She takes full credit.
Yeah, she's like, I know.
Yeah. She's like, you're welcome.
Yeah. Oh,
And I'll
that's
use the mask
incredible.
because it's exfoliating, and it's got three levels of exfoliation, which people forget that you can use AHAs, BHAs, and PHAs. But also, the Ghusl gives you a slight bit of a micro exfoliant on the skin that's micro tear safe because it's in the form of a powder. So if you do
Wow.
want to rub it
Yeah.
off, you can kind of get all the exfoliating you want, and it's so important to exfoliate. People forget all the
Yeah.
time to do that. Your skin's on a regenerative cycle. You need to get rid of dead skin before
Yeah.
you can, for your products even to be efficacious, right?
And I think as someone that had acne, like you said earlier, you have that urge to just scrub your face off. It's like you literally,
Yeah.
and I still kind of have that in me, but it's nice to have something gentle to know that whatever you do is okay because you're not damaging the barrier.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the whole sense of the line for myself. It was like skin barrier health first
Yeah.
and let's go from there, you know?
I love
And,
this.
and
You have completely sold me. As soon as we get off this, I'm ordering all the products and I'm also
uh,
ordering a grounding mat.
but listen, Bryony, the best thing about having friends with skincare lines is that I will send it to you.
You're
You
so sweet. You're
don't need
so sweet.
to buy it. Please let me send it to you.
It's
But
it's incredible. And also your knowledge, like you've really, it's like you truly have sold it to me because I mean, not that I need to, because I just completely trust everything that you say, but you really have done this just sounds like such a meaningful brand. And I love the way that, as you say, it's simplified, but really there's so many strong values in the brand. Can you tell
you.
me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey? Like what have been, I know that I only have maybe 5 more minutes with you, but what are what's the biggest challenge that you've had or kind of
Mm,
realization? Because it's often kind of underestimated when you have such a passion about something like you have the skincare. That's amazing. And you could talk about skincare until you're blue in the face or, gift I feel the exact same way about Pilates and wellness and everything. But then when you have a business, it's like, okay, this is another thing. And
Yeah.
stepping into kind of the business side of things can bring its own challenges. So tell me a little bit about that.
I totally know what you mean because there's the idea and then there's the execution,
Yeah.
right? And that was such a challenge for me, having never done an entrepreneurial venture, but so thankful that I have obviously the best partner and husband, who's start a business every day if he could, and
Yeah.
loves entrepreneurship,
You two are such
who
a
could
dream
guide
team.
me through. He is, yeah, he's a good egg. And for me, one of the hardest learning curves, like there's two things that really stood out was one that you do need to understand all aspects of your business. You need to understand your P&Ls, your cash flow and the numbers, and you need to understand, the cogs and you got to understand how the business works from A to Z because you
Mm,
never want to be in a position where you can't respond or go with your gut or how you feel about something because you're just
yeah.
leaving it to someone else, right? And for me, that's been really important. And I have an amazing COO, a CFO who will kind of handhold me through the process a bit, and if I ask 100 questions, they're understanding of that because they understand that I want to know all of these ins and outs and what all these numbers mean. So really relying on your team to
Mm,
help you grow in that journey and not limit you by just taking it away. Like, understand that this is a team process and that everyone should be learning from each other. And take the time to study or go out and educate yourself about the things that you don't feel so confident in. And even like hearing you tell me that I sound so knowledgeable, I took an esthetician course, like, up to level 4
wow.
because I was so passionate about wanting to understand skin
Mm,
and how it works. Like, next to wanting to be a dermatologist, like, I was like, I need to learn as much as I
it's
can because that's
incredible.
also an important aspect of the
Yeah.
business. And for me, that was like worth every time moment of time that I didn't have necessarily, but I wanted to take
Yeah.
this course because I feel so much more fluent in the room, with the chemists and when I'm formulating and marketing and oh my gosh, the marketing, like everyone who
Oh
starts a
my
business will
gosh.
know, like marketing's a big part of it. The
Yeah.
industry is so, every industry feels so saturated now,
Yeah.
like there's just this massive influx of people really taking a risk and putting out their own businesses. And I think that's great, but I do think you need to find what differentiates you and sets you apart. And that
Mm,
takes a marketing cap, I'll say, because we do have to wear lots of different caps for you to really identify what your USP is and what makes you unique, right? And
totally.
then the second thing that I found, oh my gosh, just like extremely eye-opening was that there's no handbook on how to deal with people.
Yes.
There's no handbook on this person is feeling really emotional today. You, you got to come in and deal with that with professionalism and also make them feel comforted and make people feel good.
Mm,
Part of being a CEO or starting a business is making your partners want to be in that business.
yeah,
And I
totally.
think there's like the wrong sometimes notion of like that bitchy boss or that like
Oh
that's
God,
when you have to be like
that
strong.
phrase like haunts me.
I know. And like to be a strong woman in a corporation means that you have to have some kind of like Miranda, from Devil
Yes.
Wears Prada type of like, no, I don't think that's right. I
No.
actually think the best businesses flourish because every single person that works there puts the same effort that you would
Hmm.
because they care about the business. They care about the business because they feel good in that business and they want to see it succeed. You only get to that point without being a Miranda Priestley, right? Like you need
Yeah.
to be the one that your employees and community
And
want to
look up to.
look
Yeah.
up
And
to
that
and
is
say.
your superpower in itself. And leadership in it is is a whole other thing. And you can be a manager, you can be a leader, and it's so there's so many layers to it and it's fascinating. But ultimately you just I guess your team must just really look up to you and also love going into work. And that's why they want to do a good job for you.
I hope they do, but I hope they do because they know that I equally look up to them. and love
Yeah.
them. And I know that this business wouldn't survive without them. And I think that
Yeah.
mutual understanding is what makes us such a great team. And we are a really small team. Like there's only five of us. So
You're like a
every
family.
conversation matters. Yeah, we're a family. And I mean, we're probably too big a company to have that small a team, but as a startup, you understand that you have to sweat that, and everyone's doing
Yeah.
so much more than their job description. And I'm endlessly
Yeah.
thankful for that. And you need to make that vocal. I wasn't actually very good at that because I think I never necessarily received that in my life. Like when I do something for someone, it's not expecting a thank you or a good
Hmm.
job, or I kind of have carried on that way. And that's why I say it was so eye-opening, because for me, it was like I, I assumed that people know that I'm so happy with them.
Yes. So
But not
it's
everybody has
being
this.
giving that actual feedback
Yeah, because
and
not
yeah.
everyone has the same love language. Like,
Yeah.
some people need to hear it, and some people need to, to maybe receive a bonus. Like that is actually, there are people who
Yeah,
work and
that's
say,
so, I've never heard it said like that, but it's so accurate. It's like business love language.
it is business love
The
language. People
same.
want to reach milestones. Some people want just the words of affirmation. Some people need like,
Yeah.
there's so
In-person
much. And
time.
yeah, I had to really open myself up to what am I giving, and
Hmm.
what am I asking for. And actually, Idris did this company-wide test, and I forget what the actual, oh, the Myers-Briggs
Oh,
test.
yes, I know it. It's so good.
Yeah, and I think to kind of get, I mean, he has about 100 employees now,
Oh, wow.
and Sable Company comes under a group that we have together. So we sort of did it company-wide, which
That's
is great
so
because we can
cool.
pull from resources. Yeah, it's great. But like to watch all these people do this test, and like for us in this group chat, like it's a mass group chat,
Mm,
you can imagine, to dissect and like, oh, that's why I do that, and that's why I do that. It was so
yeah.
helpful for the company culture. It's just about understanding the people that you work with in a
And
way that
how
isn't
to
just
get the most out of them.
exactly.
And how
Exactly.
to kind of how they tick. It's really interesting. The Myers-Briggs thing. My mum is her career was in HR. So
Yeah.
she always talked about Myers-Briggs when I was growing up.
Ah.
And you're like a Y or a Q or whatever it was. I
Yeah,
forget
yeah.
the way
I am
she
like ENFP. And I don't know if I fully remember now
but it's but there's so
what
many
that is,
different
but
combinations and she was always so passionate about it and now one of my best friends has a human design business and you should if you
oh
haven't looked
yes.
into your human design you should look at her
You
app
know
it's
who
incredible.
I think it was actually, was it Jess who got me on human design?
Yes, I told Jess about it.
Oh my God, that's so
Yes,
funny. Yeah,
so
I was
maybe you
sitting with
have
Jess
her
and
app.
Anna, and you probably know Anna, and
Yes,
yeah, and now I downloaded my human design, but I'll be honest,
yes, that's my
I
friend's app. That's so good. I love it. It's
that's so
incredible.
funny. Please let them know that
Yeah,
I'm super excited about it. But I feel like I need a crash course now that I've got the app, and
yeah,
I'm
how
like,
to
okay,
break it
how do
down.
I future benefit from this? But it is so interesting to read these things about yourself and kind of go, oh, that makes sense. I shouldn't do a decision when I'm doing that or
Yes.
feeling this way, because that totally applies to me as I
That's
know
my
myself.
emotions rather than, yeah. And actually doing it on your team is such a good idea. Love that.
Yes, I
Okay,
love that.
well, I could honestly just chew your ear off for at least another hour, but I just want to finish by asking you three quick fire questions just to get
Yeah,
as much value as possible for the listeners.
let's
What
do
is
it.
the book that has changed your life?
Oh, you know what's okay, it's been a book I read when I was 16. It's not necessarily the most literal,
It could be anything.
biggest piece of literature I could have read, but it's called Blessing Stone by Barbara Wood.
Okay.
And it's simple. It's about a stone that goes through, the entirety of the Earth's history, and every time it lands in the hands of a different woman, it shares the story that that woman went through and how the stone played a part in it.
Wow.
And it just opened me up to this world of experiences and viewpoints and perspectives.
Mm.
And I love that.
Empathy.
And it was also very empowering. It's a great book and I recommend it to people. And it's a really easy read.
Okay, that's a good one. And what is your wellness philosophy?
Do less.
Yes, I like
Yeah.
that.
And be intuitive, I think. Because I think also people think wellness is doing everything that
All
you
the things.
see, all the things. But I think just listen to what you need and what works for you. And 9 times out of 10, your body, your skin, your stomach will tell you when it's working and when it's not.
And simplify everything.
Yeah.
And what is the best business piece of advice you've ever received?
Mm. It's really simple, but I feel like it's the best one I could think of was just to listen.
Yeah.
Uh, I think when I'd started my business, my friends were like, "You were so like," I was like bouncing off the walls, like, "I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this." And I was like, just sit and listen, like,
Yeah.
take it in. You don't have to be the one speaking all the time. And I think as
Mm.
the founder, you feel like you have to fill the space. Um,
Yeah, that's true.
but actually, just listening, sometimes you learn the most, right? So
Yeah.
I think
I
that's such a
love
good
that.
thing.
I love that. And it comes from a good place because you probably just have so many different ideas that you're just like, ah, I need to get it out.
And you think everyone is waiting for you to speak, right? But actually, some
Yes.
people want to speak and contribute as well.
That's true. That's a really good one. Thank you so, so much for this. This has been amazing. I'm
You.
gonna just take so many notes after this, and you are just such a ray of light. So thank
Aw.
you, and congratulations with everything that you're doing. And where can we buy Sable Labs?
Oh, I just want to say I genuinely feel the same about you. Every time I see you, you
Oh,
are like a literal ray of sunshine. Like
thank you.
you are exactly who you are. And
Oh,
I think you're such a positive force in this world. So thank you so much for having this conversation with me. And I
gosh.
can't wait to share the product.
Anytime. Come back,
Yeah, once you're
please.
done your lockdown, you've got to come back
I know,
to
I know.
when
I'll be
we can have a
there
girly catch up.
ASAP.
But
Definitely.
the products are available at Space and K in the UK
Yeah.
or online at sablelabs.com. And it's only online in the US for now, but more exciting details to come.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you so much.